Jarrod Flintoff, welcome to Property Insights, mate.
Thanks, Mark.
And you're from the Core Property Group, Engadine.
I am.
Tell me a little bit about the Core Property Group in Engadine.
Core Property has been established in the area for about 5 or 6 years. The directors of that, they came from other agents within the area. They went on to do their own things, started with developments and then grew to where they are now.
Yeah, so is it part of a larger franchise, or it's just Engadine, or that area specialising?
They're an independent company.
Yep.
So they've got 3 offices, one in Engadine, Heathcote and Menai.
Yeah, that's the total. That's your area,
yes.
pretty much.
Yeah. So personally, I focus mainly on the 2233 district, which is Engadine, Warrenora Heights, Heathcote, Yarrawarra, Waterfall.
So how did you get into the property market?
I left school, went straight into the real estate game.
Yep.
I was kind of drawn to it from a young age when I'd walk past a real estate agency and see the EAC magazines, the multi-list magazines, and would flick through those, and I'd pretend I'd be a business person with my briefcase and some Monopoly money in there, and left school, went into it, and stuck in.
So how's I wouldn't mind you explaining the process when you first. It's not an apprenticeship, it's a traineeship, I guess. You sort of start off in a real estate agent. I presume you start off in the area, did you?
Yeah.
Did you start with Core or somebody else?
A different company.
Yeah, a different company.
Yep.
So you start off, what, as a property manager, or you out there, for lease, holding for lease signs everywhere, or how does it work?
There's different ways to do things. So I started off as a sales assistant and then went into property management and worked my way up. But now with how agents work, you're a business within a business. So a lot of agents now will hire an associate or an assistant, and they can start that way.
So how do you mean? Because I know young fellas have gone into work, especially during the COVID period, went into work for real estate agents, and they started off in the sales. Basically, their job though was to get on the telephone and make 1,000 phone calls and try to get at least an appointment from someone to try and get them to list their property with you for sale. It's a pretty hard bloody job, and quite unrewarding. And a lot of them get paid per call or paid per successful appointment, and they're on a small amount of money, and can be very frustrating, and etc. Is that how it works?
Yeah, so as an associate, you're essentially a telemarketer, a glorified telemarketer. So you're cold calling, you're calling for appointments. You want to get your boss into as many doors as possible, so that way they can nurture relationships. How the remuneration would work on that, they'd be on a salary and they might get rewarded based on hitting their KPIs, or they might get a cut of the sale once it's sold.
I bet you've seen plenty start up and end up abandoning ship because it's thinking, my God, I'm never going to get through this.
Yes, yeah, definitely. And I've done it myself.
Yeah.
When I was younger, it's a long process, and I thought I'm getting nowhere. I'm leaving, or the grass is greener on the other side, so I'm going to jump ship and go to another company.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's
the same.
Yeah, it's exactly the same.
So what do you reckon? Someone like you, looking back now to when you were in that grinding period, what do you reckon you learnt about getting on a sales call or on a telemarketing call and ringing someone up, cold calling them, saying, look, there's a house down the road sold and we've sold it for $2.5 million or whatever. We reckon we could sell yours for the same amount of money. Are you interested in selling them? What did you learn from that process?
You learn to take the no's, and the way that I did it, I looked forward to the no's. You expect the rejection, and it's a lot easier. If you go in there and expect something out of it straight away, you're not going to enjoy it, because you're not going to get anything like something out of that phone call every single time.
Boy, totally. So on average, did you get to a period where you thought to yourself, well, if I do 20 calls, I might get one appointment? I mean, how's it work? 40 to 1? What's the ratios look like?
Yeah, around that. That would be okay, I guess. But it just depends on what your purpose of the call is. I mean, you could be going through your database of clients anyway and just touching base with them. It's just one little point of contact that you've had with them, and you might be having to do that for 10, 20 years before you can get anything out of it. So yeah, if you were to get a few appointments into the doors and be able to meet people face to face, that's a plus. But otherwise, it's just an impression, essentially, of that phone call.
So would you say, therefore, to be a successful real estate agent, that you've got to be prepared to play the long game?
Definitely. Yeah, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And I'm still very early in my career with real estate. And I'm still hustling now. So it's a grind.
Yeah, and so then you eventually go into property management. That's sort of like, that's the next level up from doing the cold calls, where you are, a client or customer gives you a property to rent. You've got to go and open the doors on a Saturday, usually, and deal with the long lines of people who want to rent the joint, disappointments, etc. What's your mindset when you go into those opens on a Saturday? Bear in mind, you probably went out Friday night. The last thing you feel like doing is on a Saturday morning is walking around with an A-frame real estate agent's board, putting out the front of a property and standing there with everybody walking through. What's your mindset on those days?
When I was doing the property management opens, they were very short, so they only went for about 10 or 15 minutes.
Oh, really?
You were meeting a large amount of prospective tenants in that time, and depending on how busy it was, you were kind of sussing out those prospective tenants just to see what they were like, because if they're going to apply, you can get a good gauge of what that person's going to be like from the minute that you meet them. So you're kind of just getting a good gauge of a potential tenant for that property.
Do you put a little mark on your board, say that one's a good one, or a 3 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10?
Yeah, so we take the names and numbers when they come through the door.
Yeah.
And you can just remember their name or just leave a little note.
Yeah, so have you ever experienced the current shortage of supply of properties for rent? Did you experience that where you got a 50-metre line of people trying to rent a place?
The property management department, I did hear them talk about a large amount of buyers coming through in my area. Large amount of renters coming through. Engadine and the area that we work in didn't have that sort of demand as other parts of Sydney.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Engadine's kind of on the outskirts of Sutherland Shire. So you're 25 minutes from Cronulla. You're still 50 minutes on the train from the city. So you tend to get a lot more people focusing on those more central areas of the Sutherland Shire and come to Engadine for affordability reasons.
And is Engadine a unit market or a house market?
House market.
Largely a house market.
Largely, yep.
So during the COVID period, did Engadine experience the same increases in prices that the rest of Sydney and or Australia experienced?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. House prices. Yeah, we saw in 2021 house prices go up 40%.
Wow.
So rental prices went up quite a lot as well.
And when house prices go up 40%, that's sort of a fairly giant leap. What are you experiencing now then, 2023?
10 to 20% drop.
Right, so they're still ahead.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, except for those people who may have bought just before the interest rates.
In the boom. Yes, exactly right.
They're falling behind.
But, we've still got a large amount of buyers looking to buy in this market. If you had have asked me what we were to expect last year, I would not have said that we'd have the amount of buyers coming through properties that we're experiencing now.
Right, so you are now seeing a lot of buyers.
Yeah.
So what's the average house price in Engadine? Like, I don't know, 2 or 3 bedroom place, bathroom, garage, carport, whatever. What are we looking at?
3 better, anywhere from the early mills up to 1.3.
Right. So it's still in the affordability range.
Yeah.
And who's buying there? What are we talking about? If you guys sort of can you profile them sort of in general, like a couple of profiles?
Young couples, young families. In the area, I think only 30% of the population is over the age of 50. So we are dealing with a lot of young buyers.
Right. And we're talking about any immigrants, like new Australians, or are we talking about, you dyed-in-the-wool young Aussie families coming to Engadine?
Aussie families.
Yeah.
So they're all coming from within the area or the Sutherland Shire. You do get the occasional coming from the other regions.
Yep.
But majority of the buyers are from the area.
So would you say that the reason why, you've got a 10-15% reduction in prices, which is, by the way, it's pretty much the national average, 10 to 15%. Do you think that you are experiencing, or Engadine, that territory, your territory, Engadine, Menai, Heathcote, I don't know, whatever else is nearby. Are you experiencing the bottom, do you think?
I've got a gut feeling that we're there or almost there. Just the amount of buyers is kind of giving me an indication that we're there.
Yeah, so of course you need vendors. Are the vendors starting to open up their shoulders and say, okay, we're going to sell and we'll take the market price, or you've got vendors still stubbornly sitting there saying, no, I'm not selling until I can get my price?
You do get the occasional seller that's like that, but that's in every market. Now towards the bottom, we are seeing sellers that are educated on what's happening in the market. They are starting to realise that what they're buying has come down as well. So they don't need to get the higher prices that they were hoping for.
Yeah, so
6 months ago.
As you're right, assuming that they can buy because I'm going to sell because I'm going to buy somewhere else, there should be a relativity in existence, so they shouldn't really lose anything, so to speak, because they reinvest it as long as they're reinvesting. Do you have enough supply? Do you have enough vendors to meet the demand, the new demand? Like that is, you're saying a lot of buyers are coming to the marketplace.
Of what the buyers are after, there is a shortage. So there's a lot of B grade properties at the moment. So they might have the warts and blisters. They might not be a favourable purchase to what buyers are wanting at the moment. So the A grade properties are in high demand still.
So what are the features of the quality of property that buyers want to buy? I mean, you're talking about, what are the non-negotiables? It's got to have 2 bathrooms, 2 car spaces, renovated bathroom. What are we looking at?
Turnkey is a trend that I've seen. So just move in, unpack your bags, start living.
Don't have to do anything, George.
That's right. Yep. Or close to it. Being in the warmer months, a pool is something that we've seen a lot of people after, or room for a pool. The turnkey, like I said, so renovated or near renovated. But on the other side, we're starting to see more people now wanting fixer-uppers because their borrowing capacities come down quite a bit. They can't afford to buy the turnkey property, so now they're having to go and buy the fixer-upper and work on that slowly. So,
is there an aversion though to doing renovations by buyers? In other words, the buyers going, well, I don't want to have to renovate this because it's got to get council proof, got to find a builder, it's really bloody expensive, and it's a punish. You still seeing that aversion to the renovations?
Yeah, definitely. But some people think that a renovation might be a change of layout.
Yeah.
Some people are put off by having to knock down a wall or two, but some people are completely put off by having to renovate a bathroom. So, but yeah, there are some buyers out there that don't want to do anything.
But are we talking about majority? Because if I guess I'm trying to find out if there's a whole lot of property for sale that needs renovation, and it's therefore suffering in price because there's no one wanting to buy it, because everybody who's a buyer is looking for something that's sort of pretty much done. Is there so I'm trying to split the market of supply up. Is there a undersupply of renovated or decently renovated properties, as you say, just walk-in type properties and live in? Is there an undersupply of that and oversupply of the other type product?
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. So therefore, you would expect the opportunity in terms of price, at least, is in the oversupplied area, which is places that need to be fixed up.
Yes.
So if you're prepared to go in there and put up with all the shit for a while, it should be all right.
Yeah, exactly. But it's what we're seeing is because there's so many of the properties that need fixing up, and many buyers preferring something that doesn't need any work, they're kind of waiting before they move on to those properties that need renovating.
Right.
So they're eventually selling. It's just that the preference is find something that doesn't need any work.
Yeah, that's my preference. Yeah, I agree with that. But I certainly understand having renovated properties myself. And if you buy a property that's unrenovated, how picky are the tenants? Tenants, because let's say you're just buying unrenovated as an investment, just going to lease it out. Is it hard to lease out if it's unrenovated? Do tenants say, no, I'm not moving in there because it needs to be painted or something like that?
Yeah. Because they're treating it like their home, right? So they still want to live in a nice place. You can't go and renovate a place that you're renting. So yeah, there is a preference of something that doesn't need any work.
So what sort of returns are you looking at there for rental returns? I mean, you still getting, you get 4-5% or in terms of yield, rental yields on properties?
5 years ago, it was about 5%, but now it's around the early 3s.
Right. Renovated or unrenovated.
Yeah.
But I guess it doesn't stay on the market very long. As soon as you meet the market for the rent, it'll go.
Yep. So we've got still a shortage of stock to rent in the area. So they're all turning over quite fast. The vacancy rate is low. I think we're around 1% or less than 1%. But yeah, the properties that are well presented, they always rent out very fast. You've got a long line of people wanting to go through and have a look, a lot of applications as well.
So final question to you. When it comes to the most favoured parts of your territory that you operate in, what sort of amenities are buyers looking for? In terms of amenities, I'm talking about parks, schools, proximity to station, shopping centres, whatever, church. I said schools. What are the sort of top 3 things that buyers say are non-negotiable? Things I must have.
Close to transport.
Public
transport.
And when you're talking about it, you mean bus or trains?
Trains.
Is that the Engadine station?
Trains, yeah. So close to the station. Engadine's a big area, so you can be in one part of the suburb, and it will take you 45 minutes to an hour to walk there.
To walk where?
To walk to the train station.
Wow.
So because of that, you've got a preference of wanting to be closer. School catchments is a big focus as well. There's 4 public schools in the area or in that suburb. So being
4?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's a Catholic school and 3 public schools. So being close to the right catchment or in the right catchment is a priority for many buyers as well. And being close to town centre as well.
Town centre being a shopping centre.
Yes.
So people still want to be close to Woolworths and Coles and all that sort of stuff.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yep.
So does that suggest to me that your buyers are looking at being efficient and that they don't want to waste time travelling. They want to get on the train and get to work, wherever it is. They don't want to waste too much time shopping. They just want to get to Woolworths, get the stuff, and get the hell out of there. And finally, they don't want to have to travel too far for kids to school. So that tells me that, in terms of profiling people, that sort of looks like young couples with kids who are both mum and dad might be working, both busy, and trying to build efficiency up in terms of how they live their lives. Is that what we're talking about? Someone between,
Exactly.
35 and 49 or something.
You've just described me.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm after. There's a lot of buyers that are exactly the same. The district, the 2233 district, is kind of isolated from the rest of the Sutherland Shire. So it's separated by the Royal National Park. So because you're already facing that isolation from the rest, you don't want to be isolated even more in that suburb.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, and by the way, there's a big advantage of being near the park because that's pretty cool. You can go for runs and all sorts of things through there. Are we looking at a slightly different type of person to, say, someone who wants to live in Sutherland or Cronulla?
Yeah.
In terms of personality?
Yeah. A lot of nature lovers because of the national parks that we're surrounded by. We still do get the surfers that do want to travel either south down to Stanwell or Thirroul or go out to Cronulla. But yeah, it's a wide variety of buyers. You're not really getting people that are picking Engadine for what Engadine has to offer. It's more the surrounds.
And finally, your first house or your first property, you remember buying one?
Yes. Yeah, it was a
Where
unit
was it?
in Kirrawee back in 10 years ago. So about 2012, 2013. It was poorly treated, had a tenant in there, and there was stains all over the carpet. The carpet had been using some paraphernalia in his bedroom, and so I had to go in there and gut the place. Then I sold that, got a lot more than what I was expecting, and then bought another dump in Engadine and turned it into a nice home that I've got now.
Which is where you live?
Yeah.
Well done. Jarrod, thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your time.
Jarrod from Core Property Group.
Awesome.